A very warm welcome to one and all. Continuing with this wonderful lecture series by Swami Sarvapriyanand. Today we have a talk titled A Purposeful Living with Vedanta. I would like to begin it with one of Swami Vivekananda's quotation on Vedanta. He says, "Teach yourselves, teach everyone his real nature. Call upon the sleeping soul and see how it awakes. Power will come, glory will come, goodness will come. Purity will come, and everything that is excellent will come when the sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity." Sources say that Vedanta is not restricted or confined to one book, and there is no sole source for Vedantic philosophy, but much of it can be derived from Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and the Brahma Sutras. I would like to quote here Wikipedia story of Vedanta. It says, there's a story in Mundaka Upanishad that runs like this. Once in a tree, there were two birds, one at the upper branch, serene, majestic and divine, and the other at a lower branch, restlessly pecking fruits, sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter. Every time when the restless bird ate a bitter fruit, it looked at the upper bird and climbed a branch up. This occurred a number of times, and eventually the bird reached the topmost branch. There it was, not able to differentiate itself from the divine bird, and then it learned that there was only one bird in the tree, the upper bird, which is described as divine, the real form of the other restless bird. This is the thought of Vedanta. The fruits in the story are karma. The restless bird denotes a human soul, and the majestic bird denotes the absolute. So let's now listen to Revered Swamiji's thoughts on Vedanta. I'm sure it will help us all to find a purposeful life for ourselves.
A very good evening to all of you. Am I audible to everybody at the back also? Yeah? Very good. So here we are, and we have a very serious subject which we are going to discuss this evening. Purpose of life and how Vedanta helps us, what it tells us and how it helps us. I'd like to begin with what we want in life. And there is a traditional structure in Hindu thought which maps what human beings could possibly want in life. First thing we want is pleasure, sense pleasure. You want to eat good things, you want to listen to good music, you want to see good things, films, all sorts of sensory pleasures, all kinds of pleasures. They are all categorized under one term called kama. Kama means desire, also means sensory pleasures, all kinds of sensory pleasures. There's a pleasure you get out of eating a laddu, to the most refined kind of pleasure you get out of listening to classical music, the pleasure you get in artistic creativity, the most refined kind of pleasure to the grossest kinds of pleasure, all of them are put under kama, that is pleasure. And this is what children seek, they want to have a good time. And you ask students, maybe not IIT students, but other than IIT students, you will find kids partying, and you ask them, what are you doing? We are having fun, we are hanging out, we are having fun. So that's basically pleasure, they're seeking pleasure, having a good time, that is pleasure. And that is one of the goals of life. See, there is no should here. What we are doing here is classifying what is, what people are doing, that is what we are classifying. People want pleasure, people want to have a good time, and okay, they are having a good time there. so that comes under karma, and typically children, teenagers, they spend a lot of time in this. But as you know, if you look at your lives, if you look at the lives of people who are grown up, please come. You will find typically how much time in the week do you spend in having a very good time? Not much. Most of the time you are working. You're doing something else. There are limitations of pleasure. There are several limitations. For example, pleasure, what gives you pleasure lasts for a very short while. After some time you need another dose of that. You like a rasgulla or mithai, you take it, you find it very tasteful and you enjoy it, but next moment typically you want something else. In fact, the novelist Somerset Maugham, he said something very interesting. He said, if you continuously chase pleasure, if you single-mindedly chase pleasure, very soon you find nothing pleasing anymore. And that's, I don't know how profound an observation that is, but that's true. That's really true. You try very hard to have a very good time, and very soon you find it very difficult. I mean, you get bored with this, you get bored with that, and there is something more than this pleasure. They say, or what people in IIT are doing, you know, success, learning, education, power, wealth. That's the next thing which people want in life, and that is called artha. Artha literally means wealth, but it covers all kinds of worldly success. Maybe in education, you get an IIT degree, you get a very high paying job, you earn a lot of money, you have a status in society, you get awards. All this is artha, all kinds of success that you get. It's not typically pleasure. In fact, the interesting point is you would have to probably sacrifice a lot of pleasure to get this artha. And I was told, you know, how you have a tremendous workload and you put in 10, 12 hours, 14 hours a day studying. So you are not really having, in one sense, you're not having a good time out there, but you are working towards something that is more meaningful, success in life, artha. Beyond this, beyond artha, people would like to do something for others, expand out of their little selves. Typically this happens when you get married and you have a husband or a wife, then you have children, then you're doing something for others. Most of the time you'll find your mother and your father, they're living for you mostly. You know, most of the time is spent, the decisions, major decisions are taken with you in consideration, with kids in consideration. So you're living for something more than yourself. And then not only your family, beyond your family, the wider society, people would like to do something for others. You know, it's a habit to run down politicians, but there are many politicians who come into politics because they want to do something for wider society. So many politicians come into politics for artha maybe, to get money or success in life or power, but many come again to do something better for society. People speak about Anna Hazare today. So he is neither chasing kama nor artha, but what he wants to do is, it's called dharma. Something beyond kama and artha, expansion into a wider existence, doing something for others. Dharma includes morality, it includes work done for others, the wider society, for the good of others, working for the good of others. This is a very general explanation of dharma. There are more technical explanations of dharma. Dharma also might mean religion. Literally dharma comes from the root dhri, what holds a person together. What holds something together is dhri dharma, that which holds something together. But here I am taking it in the sense of morality, doing good to others. Dharma artha kama, it's well known. I mean, most Indians have heard this phrase, dharma artha kama moksha. We keep saying it. So this is what it means: kama to artha to dharma. And of course we speak about moksha. What that is, I'll come to later on. These are called the four purusharthas, four objectives of human life. Purushartha would translate as a goal, a purpose of human life. We're talking about purposeful living. So traditional thought speaks about four purposes of human existence. There is no should here. This is what people want actually. Now I would like you to think, see what you want in life, what you have always wanted. Look at the people around you, and I can tell you, you can sort of classify what they want in one of these four categories. All of what human beings could possibly want, whatever they have wanted in life, comes under these four categories. Professor Seligman, an American psychologist, who is in fact regarded as the father of the movement of positive psychology. In the last 10-15 years, it has really taken off. It's a new branch of psychology, and it's partly due to an academician called Seligman, Martin Seligman. He says, he looks about what makes people happy, and he has developed this equation. Happiness, he says, the first thing which contributes to happiness, if you ask people, the first reaction would be things which give pleasure. Good food, good music, company of good friends, entertainment, all of that. So he says the first component of happiness is pleasure, P. First component is pleasure, all kinds of sensory pleasures. But he says it's very limited. It is transitory. You need more, like a drug, you need higher and higher fixes of that. So pleasure is a small component of happiness, but it is the first thing which comes to mind. More than pleasure, he says, what gives happiness to human life is what he calls engagement. Engagement. It might be in a career, it might be in your studies, it might be in a job, in a hobby. So for example, a person who likes playing, say tennis or something, and devotes hours and hours of practice and all that for playing, and is completely engaged in that, and that gives happiness. Those of you, I think most of you enjoy studies, otherwise you wouldn't be here, and you get this happiness out of engagement. It's not sensory pleasure, but it's a kind of happiness which comes from concentrated hard work. There's a satisfaction in that. So that's engagement. Some people get it out of their jobs, whatever work they are doing. Often you'll find those who are doing research, academic research, not all of them, but many of them get a lot of satisfaction by working in the lab. They can spend hours and hours, days and days, months, years go by when they are deeply engaged. There's a condition called flow, where they get a lot of happiness from work. So that is another component of happiness. This is Seligman's equation. And he says, is it down? Let it be there. It's reflecting on that. You can't see. Okay, fine. I'll just read out what I'm writing. Then he says, beyond engagement, happiness comes from another thing, another factor, which he calls meaning in life, or purpose in life, a meaningful life. So, somebody like Gandhiji, or today Anna Hazare, or somebody, or Swami Vivekananda, they were doing things not for pleasure. They were not doing things because it was a hobby or a career for them, but they found deep purpose in life in what they were doing, and that gave a lot of happiness to them. So the M is meaning in life, a meaningful life. People who take up, they throw up attractive careers and go and do social work. I know this young man in Calcutta. He's a product of IIT Kharagpur, then IIM Calcutta, with an IIT and MBA from IIM. What he did was, he threw up a lucrative career in multinationals, and he took these orphans from the streets of Calcutta, and he set up this NGO called Parivar, whereas he has some 450 kids, orphans, from different parts of West Bengal. Vinayak Lohani, and he's not from West Bengal, he is from Madhya Pradesh in fact. Now why did he do that? And he's happy, he's very happy. He finds meaning in it. And a lot of people do that. They do what gives meaning to their lives. And this is Seligman's equation, and with a lot of statistical surveys, he has shown how this pleasure component is a very small part of happiness. If you take as 100%, this pleasure would count for a very small part of happiness. Engagement counts for more, gives more happiness than pleasure. And meaning gives the maximum amount of happiness. And the converse, if you don't have meaning in life, you don't have engagement, just pleasure will not fulfill you. Often the opposite can happen. If you have meaning in life, then pleasure, you can dispense with pleasure. You don't need that pleasure, that component. I remember an experiment which Professor Seligman conducted. He said he used to teach a course in psychology, and he said that one day he told his psychology students that today in the afternoon there are no classes, you can all go and watch a movie in the theater nearby. I'm very happy. Okay, go to the movie. But one condition, you come back and then you have to fill up this questionnaire. So they went to the movie and they came back, and the students were asked to fill up this questionnaire where they were asked, you rate your happiness, the kind of pleasure you got from the movie on a scale 1 to 5 or something. And they submitted the answers and they went back home. Next week again in the class, the professor said that today in the afternoon we won't have a class, we will all go to this particular area where poor kids live, and we have toys and t-shirts and all which we will distribute to the poor kids there. You mix with them, make friends with them. And the whole class went to this area and they met those children and they spent the afternoon with the children. And they came back and filled up this questionnaire, answered this questionnaire again, how happy it makes you on a scale of 1 to 5. Then a few months later, suddenly in the class, after 3 or 4 months, suddenly the professor, what he did was, you guys, do you remember 3 months back one afternoon you went to a movie? Say, yeah. Now you rate yourself, answer this questionnaire. How much happiness does that movie give you now? Right now, how happy do you feel that you saw that movie? Some of them couldn't recall the name of the movie. And many of them said, yeah, I don't remember the happiness at all. And you remember the next week we went to those children and we spent that afternoon with them, we helped them out. How happy does it make you feel now, today, 3 months later? And all of them said, we remember that, and even till today, when we think about it, it makes us feel happy. So it shows you that this meaning component is very powerful in happiness, in the total scores. More weightage is here, little less here, much less here. But the point I want to make is, some of you may have already guessed the correlation. Kama. P, pleasure. Artha, engagement, roughly speaking, not an exact match, but roughly speaking, engagement. Dharma, again, roughly speaking, pretty close in fact, meaning in life. I don't know if anybody else has made this correlation, but when I heard a talk, there are these talks, TED Talks, TED Talks. So Seligman has a talk there, and you should see it. Very interesting. He's a very good speaker, very humorous. I can't resist telling you how he began that talk, though it is little off the subject. But anyway, when he started the talk, it was about positive psychology, and he said, he started the joke. He said, I was interviewed by CNN about psychology. They asked me, Professor Seligman, please tell us what is the status of psychology today? And because this is CNN, you get only one word, soundbite. So he said, all right, what is the state of psychology today? Good. Then the interviewer said, no, cut. Explain a little more. Yeah. I'll ask you again, you explain. You just dilate a little more on the subject. All right, how many words? 2 words. Ready? Professor Seligman, what is the status of psychology today? Not good. The interview was taken aback. What? Good? Next, not good? No, it's not clear. You have to explain a little more. Okay, how much? 3 words. Professor Seligman, what is the state of psychology today? Not good enough. And that was the subject of the talk. How psychology is good, how it is not good, and how it can be better. So that's how he began the talk. I'm sure you can look it up in TED website, Seligman. But my point is, ancient Indian thought and what modern psychology is coming to, you can see a convergence. You can very clearly see the convergence. All of this is for happiness. Kama is because it makes me happy. Artha, wealth, it is for happiness, for my happiness. Even dharma, I say it is for you. I am doing this work for you, I am doing it for the underprivileged people, I am doing it for people who are suffering. But ultimately it makes me happy. I am satisfied with it. It is because I do it for my satisfaction. So all this is for happiness. And here Seligman says happiness has these components. Now Vedanta, the philosophy of Vedanta, which as she said is based upon the Upanishads, which form part of the Vedas, the core text of Hinduism. Vedanta says all the happiness that you get from these components, it is not enough. It is transitory. At the end of all this, you are still left with existential questions. You are still left seeking for more happiness, for permanent happiness. Even with all of this, people still feel unfulfilled. Is there anything that will really give you permanent happiness? Is it possible? And Vedanta says, beyond all this, there is another thing to search for, which is, we can call it spiritual enlightenment, or the search for moksha, nirvana, whatever. How do they define it? That is the search, they say, for permanent happiness, for infinite permanent bliss, and an end to unhappiness. Atyantika dukkha nivritti paramananda prapti. In Sanskrit, Atyantika dukkha nivritti means permanent cessation of all miseries, and paramananda prapti, attainment of bliss, permanent bliss, spiritual joy. Is it possible? They say, they claim it is possible. How is it possible? To cut a long argument short, Vedanta claims this moksha, attainment of permanent happiness and overcoming misery, is possible through self-knowledge. It is possible through self-knowledge. When you answer the question, who am I? If you say, I know who I am Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, he says that is wrong knowledge. We have to find out who we really are, and when you discover who you really are, that leads to the complete cessation of all miseries and attainment of bliss, ananda. This is they say this is the main purpose of human life. And that has been the claim of all spiritual teachers in India, not just in Hinduism, in Buddhism, in Jainism, Sikhism, all the Indian spiritual traditions. All of them say that knowledge of your true self leads to permanent cessation of miseries and attainment of bliss. They have different answers. I'll give you the answer of Vedanta today, Advaita Vedanta. That's one school of Vedanta. I'll give you the answer of Advaita Vedanta. What is this? Who am I? Okay, we will go into this now. And we'll go through a process to find this. You must follow me very carefully. You have this handout. It says Drig Drishya Viveka. This funny words, Drig and Drishya and Viveka. You have got it? Those who haven't, please raise your hands. They'll give you, or many of you haven't got it. We will follow a particular process of discovering who am I. And this comes from a text called Drig Drishya Viveka. Drig means the witness, seer, the one who sees, the one who knows, the subject, the I. Drig means the seer, the one who sees. Seer not in the sense of a sage, but in the sense of a person who sees, the witness. Drishya means what is seen. Seer or knower. And this is what is known. Viveka means separation, discrimination. Viveka means separation or discrimination. Discrimination. Viveka comes from the Sanskrit root vivich. Vivich means prithakkarani, to separate. Vivekananda, the word, the one whose joy is in discrimination. What discrimination? What separation? We'll look at that now. And this text is about 600 years old. Swami Vidyaranya, who was in the Vijayanagar kingdom in Karnataka about 600 years back, he wrote this text. Sometimes it's attributed to Shankaracharya 1200 years ago, but that's not true. Modern scholarship dates it around 600 years back. And this is the first shloka, the first verse of a very small book, Drigdishya Viveka, which has 40 verses, 38 verses in fact. And this is the first one. And this is the key verse, most important verse. We will just use this. Okay, let's go into it. You have to carefully follow me, step by step. It's subtle, but it's very interesting. It's, in a sense, it's very simple also. You have to not only understand what I say, but at each stage you should try to experience what I am saying. Okay, you should try to move with it in your own experience. Then it makes much more sense. It's not just an intellectual exercise. It is intellectual in the sense that you have to understand, of course, but also right now you have to experience it. Right. Now we have one principle, one operating principle which we will use. What is the principle? The knower and the known must be different. What is the principle? The knower and the known must be different. What do I mean by that? Something very simple. I know this duster. I see this duster. My eyes are seeing this duster in a very simple way. The eyes must be different from the duster to see it. I can see you. You must be different from my eyes for my eyes to be able to see you. In fact, the only thing that the eyes cannot see are the eyes themselves. The eyes can see a reflection of the eyes, can see a picture of the eyes, but they cannot see themselves directly, and they can see things which are different from themselves. So the principle which we will use, which we will give up later on at the end, but right now we will use this principle: the knower and the known must be different. Okay, hold on to that. Let us start. I'll read out the Sanskrit. You can follow, you can just listen to me also. The verse goes like this: Rupam drishyam lochanam drik tadrishyam driktu manasam drishyadhivrittaya sakshi drigeva natu drishyate. Okay, the first part, it has 4 parts. The first part goes like this: Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Rupam means form. Forms. Forms, these are forms. What you see. Literally Rupam means color, but it also is extended to forms. Whatever the eyes can see, those are called Rupam. All these are forms which you see. And who knows this? Please come. Who knows these forms? The eyes. Lochanam means eyes. So the eyes are the drashta and the forms are the drishya. Drashta means knower or seer, and drishya means known or seen. You are with me so far? Very simple. Knower and the known. And what is the principle that we are using? The knower and the known must be? Eyes and the forms are obviously different. Very clearly, you know this. The process being adopted here is the usual method of education, where you take the student from the known to the unknown, from what is familiar to what is unfamiliar. So it's very familiar. Eyes are different from what they see. Eyes are the seer, drig, and the forms are the drishya, the known, and they are different. Not only that, I'll make some other points. The first point I would like to make is, forms are many. Here are people, there are chairs, there are fans, and there's a hall, and there are so many colors. There's white and red and yellow and blue and so much. All these are forms, and they are all seen by the eyes, which are one. Not that the person is one-eyed, but it is one organ in the sense of seeing. So eyes, the drig, is an interesting point, is one. Drishya are many, many. Second point I would like to make, corollaries. Second point is, the drishya is constantly changing with respect to the drashta. With respect to the eyes, the things which it sees are constantly changing. People come and go, the day changes into night, and so many things which you are seeing, they keep on changing. They are changing. With respect to the changing forms, the eyes are relatively constant. Okay, 2 points I have made. Now, let's go to the second quarter of the verse. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Tadrishyam, these eyes, they become drishya. And who sees or knows the eyes? Mind. Manasam means mind. Don't you know your own eyes? Know in the sense, my eyes are open, my eyes are closed. I can't see clearly. I have to change the power of my spectacles. Or I can't see clearly. Or my eyes are itching. all the conditions of the eyes, that I know clearly, that I can see clearly, or I cannot see clearly, eyes are open, closed, all these conditions, they are known to the mind. So mind is the knower and the eyes are the known. Mind is the drashta, eyes are the drishya. Eyes are the drishya. And what is the operating principle? Drashta and drishya, knower and known, must be different, they are separate. And obviously the mind is separate from my eyes. Remember, by the eyes I can extend it to the ears and to the nose and to the tongue and to the skin, to all the 5 sense organs. The same principle holds. The mind can know the sense organs. So the mind becomes the drig, the knower, the drashta, and the sense organs, the eyes and so on, they become the drishya, the known, the seen. And the same two corollaries, the different conditions of the eyes, or the different, first of all, the different sense organs, eyes, ears, tongue, nose, skin, all of them are known by the same mind. First corollary. Second corollary, they are changing. Condition of the eyes is changing, ears, skin, various sensations are coming, they are all changing. They are all known by the same mind. The two corollaries again hold. Now let us go further back. We are becoming more subtle. And you must move not only in understanding but also in experience. You must feel it. Now we are coming to something really subtle. The third quarter, Drishya Dhivrittaya Sakshi. It says the mind, Dhivritta means modifications of the mind. Dhivritti means modifications of the mind. Thoughts in your mind, emotions, feelings, knowledge, all of this is in the mind. And all of these, follow me carefully here, all of these are known to you. I am happy, I know that I am happy. I am sad, I know I am sad. I understand what this guy is talking about. I know I understand. I don't understand what he is talking about. I know I don't understand. So there is something in me which knows what's going on in the mind. There is something in us which watches our mind. Because everything in the mind is known. Don't ask who knows the mind, but just acknowledge this fact, whatever is happening in your mind is known. Not to us maybe, but to you. It is known to you. Your happiness, your misery, your knowledge, your ignorance, your ideas, your memories, your feelings, all of them are very much known to you. And the principle is, there is a witness of the mind called the Sakshi. Sakshi means witness. It literally means witness. What it is, the verse is silent on that. But there is a witness to the mind. It's called Sakshi. Sakshi, as you know, in Hindi, in Sanskrit, it means the witness. Literally, it means the witness. So there is something which knows the various thoughts of the mind, and our principle is knower and known must be different. Seer and the seen must be different. Drashta and drishya must be different. Drashta and drig are the same. Drig and drishya must be different. So this Sakshi must be different from the mind. Whatever the Sakshi is, the knower of the mind must be different from the mind. There is a story about this. It's already, we are at a very deep level here. There is a story about this. One person who was very miserable, Sethji, dukhi the. I'll just tell you in Hindi and translate back into English, because I heard it in Uttarakhand in the Himalayas. Very profound story and very funny also. So there's this, I'll tell you in Hindi first. So Sethji the, बहुत दुखी थे, वो एक महात्मा जी के पास गए हिमालय में. क्या हुआ? महात्मा जी हम बहुत दुखी हैं. Then that Mahatma told him, तुम दुखी नहीं हो, तुम अपने दुख को जानते हो, तुम अपने मन में जो दुख है उसको जानते हो. हाँ जानते हैं, इसीलिए आपके पास आए हैं, हम दुखी हैं. अगर तुम अपने दुख को जानते हो तो तुम दुखी नहीं हो सकते. तुम अपने दुख के ज्ञाता हो, अपने दुख के दृष्टा हो. मन में जो दुख है उसका दृष्टा हो तुम. सेठ जी सोचा बहुत, हाँ ठीक ठीक बता रहे हैं, मन में दुख है उसके हम दृष्टा हैं. Then he went and told the महात्मा जी अब बहुत शांति है, हम बहुत शांत है, अब दुख चला गया, हम बहुत शांत है. नहीं, तुम शांत नहीं हो, तुम्हारे मन में जो शांति है उसका दृष्टा हो तुम. What does it mean? I'll tell you in English. There's this man who was very sad and depressed, and he went to this monk in the Himalayas, which is what Indians usually do. The higher you stay, they literally say the higher you stay in the mountains, the more spiritual you are. So I asked this, I told you yesterday, I asked this monk who was some 15,000 feet high in the Himalayas above Gangotri. And what was it like? He said it was horrible. He had, let alone practice spiritual practices, meditation, it was difficult surviving there. Anyhow, and this man asked the monk there, Swamiji, I am very depressed, I am sad, I am miserable. And that Swami says, you follow this, do you know the misery in your mind? Do you know your misery? He said, of course, I feel it. That's why I am here. I know it. If you know it, you cannot be miserable. You are the knower of your misery. You are the knower of the misery in the mind. And the knower and the known must be different. You think about this. And the man went and thought about it. And if you do that, you can try it yourself. After some time, you will get peace of mind. That misery will disappear. It becomes an object. Just like this thing in my chalk, the misery in your mind, the depression in your mind also becomes an object. And then it's no longer a cause of misery. So that's what happened to him. And he went back and he told the monk that, Swamiji, you are right. I am not miserable. Now I am very peaceful. Immediately the monk said, no, you are not peaceful. You are the knower of the peace in your mind. So, why is it important? Because the moment you do this process of vichara, this discrimination, you attain peace. Immediately a peace comes in your mind. And then what happens is, you get identified with that peace. After some time, the nature of the mind is to change. After some time the mind changes. And what happens is, you feel, I was peaceful, now I am not peaceful anymore. Or when I was with that Swami, I was peaceful, now I am not peaceful anymore. Where did that peace go away? Because you have become identified with that peace. Real peace is not being identified with the peace of the mind or the lack of peace of the mind. Mind may be restless, mind may be peaceful. You are the witness of both. This is what Vedanta tells you. So, this is the level. This is a watcher of the mind. There is something that watches the mind. I remember when I first came across this kind of teaching, when I joined as a monk some 20 years back, 19 years back, there was a monk in that ashram where I joined, very old person, Marathi, and he was a strict Advaitin believer in this kind of philosophy. He used to stammer a little, old man with big bright eyes, very austere old monk. So one day I was walking with him and he was telling me, that which is the known is different from the knower, and you watch your thoughts. What is behind your thoughts? And I said, Swamiji, if I think like this, thodi der baad, ek blankness. A little later, if you can reach a blankness. You try it just now, you will find here are forms, here is the eye, then there is the mind which knows the eyes, then there are thoughts in the mind, there is something watching those thoughts. If you try to go beyond the mind, to the background of the mind, you reach a blankness. You try it? Nothing. So I said, Swamiji, I said in Bengali, ekta andhakar, there's a darkness. And then that Swami said, I still remember vividly, turned to me, with big bright eyes, and he said, oh, little stammering, oh, andhakarer pechone, je ache take dhoro. Beyond that darkness, that light which is beyond that darkness, which illumines that darkness, that is what you are. It didn't make any sense to me. I mean, I didn't find any light beyond the darkness then, but that is the point. That is the point of all this. There is right now something which is watching your mind, a sakshi, a witness. You're constantly aware of what is going on in your mind right now. What it is, how can we know that, this sakshi? The eyes are known by, the forms are known by the eyes are known by the mind is known by the Sakshi, and the Sakshi is known by last. Drigeva natu drishyate. The Sakshi, the Drashta is never known. If you say Sakshi is here, then who knows the Sakshi? You need one more Sakshi, a witness to know the witness. You cannot have a witness of the witness. So this cannot happen. This cannot happen. We stop at this position. There is a knower of the mind, and that is the true Drashta. The whole process culminates here, and they say this Sakshi is what you really are, and these are not the Drashta, these are just a process to acquaint you with this. There is a consciousness within you which illumines your mind, which knows all the thoughts of your mind, good and bad, which knows all the emotions of your mind, happy, sad, miserable, delighted, whatever, all the ideas, memories which go on in your mind. Through the mind, it knows the sense organs. Through the mind and sense organs, it knows the world. Who does that? This consciousness. Why do I call it consciousness? Because it knows, it illumines. Just now, it's an experience, a matter of fact. And it's always there. And the answer to the question, who am I, is this Sakshi. You are the knower of your own mind. Through the knower of through the mind and the organs, you know the external world. You know your body also. And because the knower and the known are different, this must be different from the mind. You are the illuminer of your mind, but you are not your mind. But there's a tendency to get identified. So when thoughts come in the mind, I am Swami so and so, immediately the Sakshi gets identified and says, who are you? I am Swami Sarvapriyananda. What is Swami Sarvapriyananda? I say these thoughts, this personality, these memories, plus this body, this is what Sarvapriyananda is. But the principle is, the knower must be different from the known. If I know all this, then I am not all this. You with me so far? I'm not asking you to experience this. If you do, very good, then you are already very far ahead. Even if you don't, at least you understand it in principle, what they are trying to say. So this is the meaning. I just go through this verse once again, then we'll go further. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Rupam means form and lochanam means eyes. Eyes are the drashta, forms are the drishya. And they must be separate. They are separate, we know. Then tad drishyam driktu manasam. The eyes or the sense organs, they become the known objects and the mind becomes the knower. And they are separate, we know that. And then drishyadhivrittaya, the modifications of the mind, the thoughts, emotions, feelings, ideas, memories of the mind, they are known. Somebody knows them, something knows it, and that is called the witness. And it must be separate from the mind, because the knower and the known are separate. And the Sakshi is never known. Sakshi is always unknown. Unknown in the sense that Swami Vivekananda says in one place, the Atman, your true nature, cannot be known as an object. It is not known as an object. You cannot know it as this, because then who would be the knower of that? So it is always the knower. But he says that you should not go away with the idea that you cannot know your true self. In fact, it is more than known. First it shines, and then everything else is known. In the Kathopanishad, there is a very famous line which Swami Vivekananda was fond of quoting. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. When that shines, that Sakshi shines, everything else is illumined. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. By its light, everything is illumined. That shining, everything else shines, and by its light, everything is illumined. It's a very beautiful verse, wonderful poetry. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agni, tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. There, in the highest spiritual state, in the Sakshi, the sun cannot illumine this. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, nor the moon, nor the stars. Not even lightning can illumine this. What to speak of this mere fire? But tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, that shining, everything else shines, and by its light tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati, by its light everything is illumined. That is the Atman. That is the real nature of our real nature, what we are looking for, the true answer to who am I. It's first stage. This is just the first stage. We have just begun. Not yet Advaita. Okay. With me so far? Yeah? No, I've lost people. No, but it's actually pretty simple. Pretty simple. Now we go further. In the Gita, 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse 2. Sometimes it might be verse 1, because chapter 13 is a little strange that way. There is one shloka at the beginning of chapter 13 which is a question asked by Arjuna to Krishna. And that question is sometimes not there in some of the Gitas. Just Krishna's answer is there. So if you count that shloka, then there are 700 verses in the Gita. If you don't count that, there are 699 verses. Some people say it was inserted to make it 700. Anyhow, so in some Gitas you might find it as 13.1. In some verses, some Gitas you might find it 13.2. The verse goes like this: Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyate etadyo vetti kshetragyam tang prahu tadvidah. What does it mean? Krishna tells Arjuna, Idam shariram, this body, O Arjuna, this body is called the field, kshetram. Kshetram means field. And the one who knows this body from inside, one who knows this body is called the knower of the field, kshetrajna. Knower of the field. Okay? One, the person right now in your body, the one you know your body, you feel it from inside. You are called the knower of the field, and the body is called the field. Now, after having read that shloka from Drigdrishya Viveka, can you tell me the first principle is the knower and the known must be different? Correct. So you are all Vedantins now. So the Kshetra and Kshetrajna must be different. You are the Kshetrajna. Your body is the Kshetram. You are different from your body by the process which we discussed just now. And Sri Krishna says, Etadyo vetti kshetrajnam tang prahu. The one who knows this body, this field, is called Kshetrajna, knower of the field. See, why Krishna starts with the body is that this bottle is different from me. It does not take any Vedanta to tell me that. I know the bottle is different from me. It's different. But I am different from the body. This does not come easily. We sometimes say my body, and sometimes somebody asks you, what's your weight? And you say, I am 60 kilos or 80 kilos or 100 kilos. Now how can you, the consciousness, the Sakshi, be 100 kilos? What is 100 kilos is the body. So sometimes we act as if we are different from the body, we inhabit this body. Sometimes we say as if we are the body. So we do not actually easily distinguish between body and yourself. That's why Sri Krishna starts with the body. What you know must be different from you. I know the bottle, I see the bottle, I am different from the bottle, it's clear. But I know the body and I should be different from the body, I should be convinced about it, but I am not. I do behave in a way, I speak about my body as if it is I, and I behave in a way, you pinch me, and I say, oh, it hurts. I don't say, I am the knower of the pain. But you know, it can be done. There was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Turiyanandaji, we saw it. I have seen myself in the lives of different monks. I'll tell you how they apply this. There was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Turiyanandaji. He was in Kashi when he was in his old age. And he had an operation to be performed on his finger, and it was very painful. And doctor said, I'm going to lance your wound there. Swamiji, we need to put anesthesia. And Swami Turiyanandaji, who was a great Jnani, he said, you don't need to do that, you operate. So, are you sure it's going to hurt? Hurt like Hell. So it's going to hurt. So you go ahead. And the doctor actually performed that operation without any anesthesia, and there are so many witnesses. This is recorded. And the Swami sat straight and with a smile, and he was absolutely relaxed. And he watched it being cut open and all. And the very interesting thing came next day, when the doctor came and he wanted to dress the wound. So without telling the Swami, he opened the wound and he started removing the bandage. And the Swami shouted, "Oh, what are you doing?" The doctor said, "Yesterday we performed this operation. It was much more painful. Even this is painful, that's right. But that operation was so painful. And you did not react at all. And now you are shouting in pain." And the Swami said in Bengali, "Bolbe to mon tatule nitam." You should have told me. I would have detached myself from it. What you would have done is this: to treat the pain as an object. When a jnani operates in the world, transacts with us, he identifies with the body and mind just like us and transacts with us. In Panchadashi it is there. When a jnani says I, there are two meanings. When we say I, there is only one meaning. What is the meaning? I, this one. When a jnani says I, there are two meanings. One is conventional, to deal with us. When he says I, it means this body and mind. But truly inside he knows I means the Sakshi, the consciousness which is witness of body and mind, which is different from body and mind. And they can do this. I have myself seen senior monks who can detach themselves from, absolutely detach themselves, treat it as an object. I saw this senior monk who had liver cancer, refused to take any treatment, absolutely conscious and happy till the very end. He said, "I'm not the body. I don't let the body go. Its job is done." I have seen a monk who passed away a few years back. He was in his 80s, both legs paralyzed and blind in both eyes. You would expect such a person to be depressed. I never saw him depressed. Always happy. You go to him, he'll ask about your problems and he'll bless you and advise you and encourage you. Never talks about his own body or in his miseries. Wonderful. I don't know how it's possible, but I think somewhere in this way maybe. But it requires practice and a kind of intuitive realization. Just because you've attended a class in IIT Kanpur on Drigdrishya Vivek and so now I can have operations without anesthesia, don't try it. You'll land in trouble. There was a Swami who did that, There's a story about that. It goes like this. There is a Swami who was supposed to have an operation, and he told the doctor, "I have read Drigdrishya Viveka. I have gone through Vedanta and I am convinced about the truth. I am not the body, I am not the mind. I am the knower of the body and mind. And the knower and the known must be different. I am the witness." The doctor said, yes, but what do you want me to do? You operate without anesthesia. Are you sure it's going to hurt? Yeah, pain is also an object. I can see pain as an object. The moment the doctor cut, the blade touched the skin, he shouted, "Oh, stop. Then the doctor said, "What happened to your Vedanta?" And then he said, "I'll tell you in Hindi first." That's how he replied. "Wo sala kitab ka baat kitab mein reh gaya." It means that stupid knowledge is in that stupid book. It's not in with me. And it's in the book level, at the level of book learning. It won't work if you don't have that intuitive realization. Just like you right now, you feel you are the body. I feel I am the body. You should actually feel I am the observer of the body. Then only this works. Okay. But in a much smaller scale, it does work. I have myself experienced. You can also try it. Anytime you feel a little down and out, you feel a little miserable, or there are minor pains, not an operation, you can try it. That I am an observer. Because I know it. I am miserable. I know this misery. I know this depression. Because I know it, I must be separate from it. If you hold on to that thought, you will actually see that thing lessening, declining, and sort of going away. It works. Anyhow, that is just at our level. Okay, we are running out of time. I need to speed this up. So far we know, Gita, when Bhagavan says, "You are the Kshetrajna," this corresponds to the Sakshi of Drigdrishya Viveka, the Kshetrajna. You have understood that? I think you've got it, because the Sakshi is the knower, the Kshetrajna here is the knower. Now, there are two questions. Now we are going to the next stage. There are two questions here. What are the two questions? If I am a consciousness in this body, the question is in each body is there a separate consciousness? I am Sakshi of this body. I am the consciousness which watches the mind and the organs and this body, and through the body I can see all of you. So is there a Sakshi, a separate Sakshi in each of you? That's question number 1. Question number 2, we speak about God, Ishvara or God. Where is God? Drig or Drishya, knower or known. There are 2 categories. You have divided the entire universe into 2 categories. I am the knower, and by my consciousness everything is illumined, whatever I know. So where do you put God? On this side, Drig, or in the Drishya? When God becomes an object of knowledge then, or on the other side, Drig, I. So there are 2 questions. Question number 1, how many Sakshis are there in each body? Human bodies, non-human bodies. Is there one Sakshi, separate Sakshis, or is it one? And number 2, where do you put God? Where does God come into all of this? And in the next shloka, very powerful shloka, 13.3 in some verses, some versions of Gita, and 13.2 in other versions, Sri Krishna answers this question, both of these questions in one stunning line. The line is this: Kshetragyam chapi mang vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. He says, it's thrilling, know me, I as God, Krishna as God, as the avatar of God. I, God, am the Kshetragya, this one, in all bodies. In all bodies, I am the knower, the Sakshi, the Kshetragya. God says, I am the knower in all of us. In fact, the true I, which we isolated by Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik, Tad Drishyam Drik Tumanasam, Drishyadhi Vrittaya Sakshi, Drige Vanatu Drishyate, by that Kshetra Kshetragyam Vibhaga, the I, the consciousness, the witness which we isolated there. God says, I am that, God is that. And that is one in all bodies, not separate. What is separate are the bodies, the memories, the mind, the memories and personalities. These are separate. Bodies are obviously separate. Minds are separate. But that consciousness illumining all of this is one, and that is God. The immediate corollary, the stunning corollary is, you are God. Chandogya Upanishad, the ultimate conclusion of Vedanta. Tattvamasi. This is from Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 6. Very famous. What does it mean? That. Tat means that. Tvam means you or thou. Asi, art. Tat, that. That means God. Thou means the individual, you, the individual. But you are God in what sense? Not as Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so or Swami Sarva Priyananda. Not even as the mind, but as the witness of body and mind. That is God. That is the Vedantic idea of God. Pure consciousness shining in all bodies and minds. It is not sectarian. It's nothing to do with belief. You can actually discover it. Tattvamasi, that thou art. In Chandogya Upanishad, there is a student called Shvetaketu, and his father teaches him this. It's like he has come back from a good school, like IIT. And the story goes like this: he goes to learn and he comes back and he's very proud. He's got this big degree, and my old father, what does he know? This is the kind of attitude. It says that in the Upanishad actually. And then the father sees this boy has become proud, and he asks the boy, did they teach you in your school that by knowing which you can know everything? And the boy says, no, there's no such subject. You need to know particular subjects to know particular things. Is there anything by knowing which you can know everything? I don't think it's possible. And then the father tells him, it goes through a long process, not the process we have followed, is a different process. There are so many such processes in Vedanta. It's a different process. And where is God? And that was answered by Krishna, saying that the same consciousness is shining through all bodies and minds, and that is God, that is what you are. This is the second stage. So what you really are at the back of your body and mind, the witness of your body and mind, is at that level, you are absolutely, all of us are one. Not similar, not of the same type, not of the same kind. We are actually one person. This entire universe, we are actually one person, literally identical. Not even uniting. Uniting means two things come together. But identity means there is only one. There's one reality shining through all these bodies and minds. Even this is not Advaita. Advaita means non-duality. We have duality here. There's one consciousness shining through all bodies and minds, but there are so many minds, bodies, and this entire vast universe, everything is there. So the third stage and the final stage in this lecture is that all these bodies and minds, this entire universe, is supposed to be a projection of that consciousness. So you have one consciousness, and from that consciousness you have, this is called Atman or Sakshi, and that is shining through so many bodies and minds. It may be a human being, it may be a dog, pardon my drawing, and it may be so many things. And there's one consciousness shining through all of that. And when it shines through the mind here, it says, I am Mr. X. When it shines through the mind here, this person says, I am Mrs. Y. And it feels, I am this dog belonging to Mr. X and Y. But this is one consciousness. We are all one here. And at the third stage, you say, this consciousness alone projects this entire universe of all beings. These are not outside that consciousness. In consciousness, in Atman, all these are seen. Like example, this is a claim. An example would be your dream. In your dream, maybe you see you are in an exam and there's a question paper in front of you and you can't, this must be a common dream in IIT Kanpur. You can't answer the questions and you've forgotten the answers and grading will be a problem. And what will happen, what my parents are going to say about my grades, and you suddenly wake up sweating. Oh, it was only a dream. Now what happened? In the dream, you were there was an exam hall, there were other students, there was a question paper, and there was, everything was there. All of that was nothing different from your mind in the dream. So the people in your dream were your mind. The question paper in the dream was your mind. And you yourself were there in a body in your dream. And there you were scared and you were sweating and trembling, and all that was in your mind. All that was nothing other than mind. And if you actually investigated in the dream, if somebody came and told you, don't be afraid, you are dreaming. All this is your mind only. You say, where is my mind? If you try to scratch the table in front of you, tear up the question paper, you won't find the mind in the dream. But when you wake up, it's true. Your mind was projecting all this. This is an example. I'm not saying we are dreaming, but the idea is, in Vedanta, that consciousness is projecting all this. I'll give you a beautiful shloka from Shankaracharya's Dakshinamurti Stotram, and then we'll go on to the last part of the presentation. The verse goes like this, very beautiful. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam pashyannatmani bahiriva udbhutam yatha nidraya. He says, the entire universe is like a city seen in a mirror. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam. You can follow simple Sanskrit. Nagari, city. Tulyam, similar. Vishwam, universe. Darpana, mirror. The entire universe is like a city seen in a mirror. And I like this very much because as a kid I had this experience, not the entire universe. We were coming in a vehicle on a highway. It was dark and we were coming into the city. And as a kid, I still remember, it struck me so much. In the mirror in the car, we could actually see the lights of the city. The whole city you could see shining, the lights in the mirror of the car. Because it was dark and we were on the highway. You can see the whole city in a mirror. You put a mirror here, I can see the whole classroom in the mirror. And he says, This entire universe is like that. And what is the mirror? Your consciousness is the mirror. Your consciousness right now. The entire universe, we think, I am here and this world is out there. But what he is saying is, you are consciousness. And in your consciousness is this body, this mind, and all these things also. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam. Bahiriva udbhutam. You think it's outside. Just like he says, yatha nidraya, swapnaya. As in a dream. In a dream you think there is a world and I am in that world and so many experiences are there. When you wake up from the dream, you find it was all in your head. The entire world you conjured up in the dream was in your head. Similarly, the entire universe just now is a projection in your consciousness. So you are, in one sense, the entire universe as consciousness. You are God, and God is projecting this entire universe within himself or itself. Because in Vedanta you don't say him or her, you say it, tat. Now we'll just conclude with, now this will make sense to you. I'll read out portions. You will see it makes wonderful sense now. Page 1, these are selections from Swami Vivekananda's complete works. In volume 2 there is a lecture called Practical Vedanta. What a Vedantin, a follower of Vedanta, what he feels like, his attitude towards the world. Now you can understand. See, the whole universe is one person. Okay? You understand in what sense now? Let go the little things, give up the small for the infinite, give up small enjoyments for infinite bliss. It is all yours, for the infinite, impersonal includes the personal. So God is personal and impersonal at the same time. And man, the infinite impersonal man, is manifesting himself as a person. It makes sense to you? This infinite Satchidananda consciousness manifesting as a person, as many persons. We, the infinite, have limited ourselves as it were into small parts. The Vedanta says infinity is our true nature, this one. It will never vanish, it will abide forever. But we are limiting ourselves by our karma, which like a chain around our necks has dragged us into this limitation. Break that chain and be free. Trample law under your feet. There is no law in human nature. There is no destiny, no fate. There is destiny and fate, law of karma as far as this body is concerned. This body which you are inhabiting now, according to Hinduism, it is governed by karma. By your past karma, it is what your experiences you are having in this body depends on your karma. But as pure consciousness, the witness of all this, you are not bound by karma. Then a few lines later on, be free and then have any number of personalities you like. Then we will play like the actor who comes upon the stage and plays the part of a beggar. Contrast him with the actual beggar walking in the streets. The scene is perhaps the same in both cases. The words are perhaps the same, but yet what difference? The one enjoys his beggary while the other is suffering misery from it. See, even after all this Vedanta, you are still this body. Right now you are limited to this. But when you know your true nature, now you are not limited, you don't define yourself by this body. First of all, you feel a tremendous unity with everybody. You feel a tremendous unity with everybody. There is no fear anymore. And people will sense that in you. People sense that this person feels oneness. I have seen so many times with advanced spiritual sadhakas, the monks, people immediately feel so close. They open up and tell them things which they could have never told anybody else. It's just like telling yourself. They feel one with that person. It automatically happens. People will sense that in you. And there is no misery anymore, because you are not limited by the sufferings and miseries of one body. So little later, so long as we have no knowledge of our real natures, we are beggars, jostled about by every force in nature and made slaves of by everything in nature. We cry all over the world for help, but help never comes to us. We cry to imaginary beings and yet it never comes. Okay, little later. Why should you hope? At the bottom of the page, you have everything. Nay, very important, you are everything. You understand in what sense you are everything? In this sense alone. What are you hoping for? If a king goes mad and runs about trying to find the king of his country, he will never find him, Because he is the king himself. He may go through every village and city in his own country, seeking in every house, weeping and wailing, but he will never find him, because he is the king himself. It is better that we know we are God and give up this fool's search after him. And knowing that we are God, we become happy and contented. Give up all these mad pursuits, and then, it does not mean that you give up all these mad pursuits so you put on Gerua and become Swami so and so. Not necessary. You play your part in the universe. You're a student, you are a student. And there was a king, Janaka, well known in Indian mythology. So he was a realized person. He had got this realization, Advaita Jnana. And he remained as a king. He did his administration. He did all the work. But he was completely, it was in his enlightenment, in his true nature. This very world becomes heaven, which was formerly hell. To the eyes of the bound, it is a tremendous place of torment, but to the eyes of the free, it is quite otherwise. This one life is the universal life. Heavens and all those places are here. All the gods are here, so on and so forth. Little later. When we have become free, we need not go mad and throw up society and rush off to die in the forest or cave. We shall remain where we were. Only we shall understand the whole thing. The same phenomena will remain, but with a new meaning. We do not know the world yet. It is only through freedom that we see what it is and understand its nature. So this law or fate or destiny is only an infinitesimal part of our nature. It was only one side. On the other side there was freedom all the time. We did not know this, and that is why we have been trying to save ourselves from evil by hiding our faces in the ground like the hunted hare. Through delusion we have been trying to forget our nature, yet could not. It was always calling to us, and all our search after God or gods or external freedom was a search after our real nature. The reason why you are here today, the reason why you read spiritual books, you go to this Swami or that Swami, to this religion or that religion, you do good works, you do meditation, you try this and that, everything that you are trying to get happiness is actually you're chasing this, which is already within you. It's a call which is there permanently within us. Within ourselves is this eternal voice speaking of eternal freedom. Its music is eternally going on. Part of this music of the soul has become the earth, the law, this universe, but it was always ours and always will be. In one word, the ideal of Vedanta is to know man as he really is. What is he? This one. It's Atman, as consciousness. And this is its message, that if you cannot worship your brother man, the manifested God, how can you worship a God who is unmanifest? This, I'll conclude with this point. Now when you look at people, an animal, a human being, anybody whom you formerly thought of as your friend, as your enemy, as your rival, all of them are none other than this God. Kshetragyam chapi mang viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. I, the Lord, whom humanity worships as God, am in all beings. That which is Father in heaven is in all beings also. Exactly the same God. So when you find a person, it's veritably God appearing in the form of that person. What is your attitude towards God? You worship. You don't have to worship a person with, you do aarti to a person and put a mala. You don't do that. If a patient comes to you, a sick man, you worship with medicine and help. If an ignorant person he comes, you worship with education. Anybody else who comes, you worship with love, with affection, with respect. Because you see the spiritual reality behind each person. Summing up, I remember. I reached the end. I'll just sum up in 1 minute our whole journey. What we have done today. First, purpose of life. Traditional thought says what human beings want are 4 in number. Kama, pleasures. Artha, power, wealth, success in life. And dharma, morality, doing good to others, expanding beyond yourself. And moksha, spirituality, enlightenment. These are the 4 pursuits of human life. Just look at any human being in the world. These are the 4 pursuits. In some people, one is more than the other. Modern psychology, Seligman, he says happiness comes from pleasures, sense pleasures, very little of that. More than that, it comes from engagement in some career, job, hobby, something. And more than that, it comes from meaning in life. So you should try to have pleasure, engagement and meaning in life that makes you happy. And that corresponds, as I said, to kama, artha and dharma. But beyond all this, Vedanta says there is spirituality, there is enlightenment, search for moksha, nirvana, whatever. What is that? The next stage of the talk was this. That comes from knowing what you are. What am I? The principle we take up, operating principle. The knower and the known must be different. So the knower is the drig and the known is the drishya. And then I used one shloka from Drig Drishya Viveka, which says, it takes you step by step. What you see is drishya, the eyes are the seer. The conditions of the eye, they become the drishya, mind is the seer. They are different. Whatever is happening in your mind, happiness, sadness, knowledge, ignorance, all these things, memories, personality, everything in your mind, those are known. So the knower of the mind must be different from the mind. And you are the knower of the mind, called the sakshi or the witness. And that must be consciousness because it's of the nature of knowledge. All the time you are aware. It must be different from your mind. Because the knower and the known are different. Then you go to the next stage of the talk, where Krishna says, the one who knows this body is a kshetrajya, is the knower. If you know, then it must be different, body must be different from you. Question is, how many such sakshis are there in all these bodies, different sakshis? And what about God in all this? And the next stage of the talk is where Sri Krishna says, kshetragyam chapi mang vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. I, God, am the knower in all bodies. I am the consciousness shining through all minds and bodies. So the consciousness which we identified as our true nature is God. Is not a part of God. Is God itself. There are no parts there. It's the entirety. You're God in entirety. There's no part and whole there. And that is shining through all bodies and minds. Last stage is, what about all these bodies and minds? They are all projections of that consciousness. They are not separate from that consciousness. So veritably, when you are dealing with this entire universe, you are dealing with God, who is none other than yourself. You can say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am God. Or you can say, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahman. All of this is Brahman. All of this is consciousness. It is God itself. You can say, it's a table, it's appearing. But what is appearing as table? The wood. So what don't you say when you touch the table? Do you say touch table or touch wood? You say touch wood. Similarly, when you contact this universe, people, things in this universe, they appear as people, they appear as things. In reality, they are consciousness or God. Swami Vivekananda says, never approach anything except as God. It's a spiritual practice. Never approach anything except as God. The people you come into contact with, teachers, students, parents, relatives, people in general, you approach them as God. Things happening in your life, good and bad, health and sickness, success and failure, as God. Things in your mind, memories, thoughts, happiness, sadness, as God. You do that. That's a spiritual practice. And we saw certain sections from Swami Vivekananda's Practical Vedanta, where he talks about this culmination of Advaitic knowledge, where everything inside and outside is awash, is drowned in God. Aurobindo, I remember a beautiful line from Aurobindo. The world drowned in the white glare of an immortal gaze. Beautiful, stunning, it's the world drowned in the white glare of an immortal gaze. That is consciousness, which is appearing, which is sort of flooding the world. Thank you very much.
Why God created this confusion? God is enlightened, why I am not?
Yes. The answer given by Vedanta is, put all your efforts into coming out of this ignorance. If you ask why ignorance, there's no answer to that. You see, the ultimate truth here is God alone exists. God is appearing as all this, these are appearances, so God alone exists. Now, if you say that does not satisfy me, why all this is going on, why I am in suffering, why all this problem is there? The real answer will be it's not there. God alone is there. I mean, if you from the point of view of the Jivan Mukta, from the Jnani's point of view, if you ask a Jnani, is there any problem? He says, no, there's no problem. It's God shining forth in these ways. But we are not satisfied by that. We want an answer. So he said, okay, if you want an answer, it's like this. you are suffering like this, you are in this particular body and in ignorance, and all these experiences are happening to you. Why? Because of your karma. In past lives you did such and you get this result. Oh, why did that past life happen? Because of the karma of earlier lives. Why did that life happen? Because of the karma of earlier lives. And then the next question will be, nahi, first life kya hua? How did it begin? And they say there is no answer to that. Anadi, beginningless, an infinite series. This is not satisfying. I am not satisfied by this. It's like you are running in a jungle, a tiger is chasing you, and you climb up on a tree and you're shivering, the tiger is sitting below, and somebody comes wearing a geru and says, see my man, you say, Swamiji, why am I suffering? And you climb up on a tree because tiger will eat you. And that Swami says there, my man, you are not suffering, it's a dream. You wake up from the dream. There is no tiger, there is no tree, you are not in a forest, this is not even your body, the whole thing is imagined by you. You are on the tree, you are shivering, you can see the tiger sitting there. You say, what? Bakwas, this is nonsense. He is a tiger. Terrible, I am scared. And you are saying there is no tiger. Then that Swami tells you, okay, tough case. So, right. Then let me tell you, you are suffering like this because of your past karma. And this tiger has come as a result of your sins, and so on and so forth, gives you an explanation. You wait till morning, tiger will go away, then you climb down from the tree, and so on and so forth. Now all of that is a provisional explanation. It's not a real explanation. The real explanation is that nothing is there, you wake up. You can't wake up, then some explanation is given. In Advaita Vedanta it says all these explanations of lives and human beings and the world and karma and all provisional. If you can't wake up, Swami Vivekananda says in one of his poems, wake up from this dream, let all dreams cease, let vision cease. Or if you cannot, then dream but better dreams, which are eternal love and service free. Very beautiful, he says, let all visions cease. Stop all this, wake up into reality. I can't. I can listen to classes, it sounds nice, but I can't. Then he says, then dream but better dreams. If you want to dream, then dream better dreams. Have a good life. Don't chase this karma and artha. You do all that, but you live a wider life in the knowledge that you are God. In that sense, it's appearing. For some reason, this is all appearing. You hold on to that and live a life like that. The answer is this. The final answer. I can give you lots of theories. Suppose you ask, what's the traditional answer? Why God created the universe? I'll give you the Hindu answer to that. Answer is very simple. God has created this universe not to make us suffer. He has created this universe for our benefit. How am I benefited? He said, because you have done lots of karmas in your past life and you need to get the result of those karmas. All the good work that you have done, you get. The law is, karma is of two types. Punya and Papa. Punya means merit, Papa means sin. So when you do something good, you get sukham or happiness, sukham. In Sanskrit, sukham. And when you do something bad, you get dukkham. And usually it's a mixture. And the idea is, every cause must have an effect. If you have done certain things, you must get the result. Na bhuktam kshiyate karma. There is a law that without experiencing the results, karma is not lost. So you must experience the results. To experience the results of so many lives, you need another body. You need a world in which you will get experiences, both good and bad, happy and sad. And that's why God has created. Cricket field. God is like the director of the institute. He has created the cricket field. Now children want to play there. So you are given bats and balls. Somebody is the batsman, somebody is the bowler, and you have these players. Go and play. That's one explanation. God has created this universe for our benefit, out of His grace. And slowly you work towards liberation or spiritual realization and moksha. Many people find that okay. Those of a devotional nature, the answer given to them is God has created this universe out of His Leela. This is a play of God. Bhakti. So they find that satisfactory. But Advaita says, all of this is provisional. The reality is only one Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss is shining forth in these manifold ways. One more? Yeah.
consciousness is flowing through us, like consciousness is
shining through us, and you are this consciousness.
okay, so is it affecting our action?
Yeah.
Only watching, or is it affecting us?
See, at one level, it is the one which is watching. First stage. The last stage we saw, it is everything. In fact, it is not only the watcher, but the first operating principle we had, the knower and the known are different. Now, have you noticed? I have abandoned that principle. The knower has become everything. The known is also the knower. The drashta is also the drishya. I am not only different from all the entire universe, but at the third level, I become the entire universe. There is only one reality. So, it not only watches, it enables the entire drama to take place. I'll end with a story from a Swami whom I met. He's passed away now, Ramananda Saraswati. He was in Haridwar and he passed away a few years back. Enlightened soul, I believe so. And he told us this story. He said, imagine there's a village and a boy who has not seen a movie, a cinema, though it might be difficult these days, but suppose there is such a person who has not seen a cinema. And his father says, I'll show you a cinema. I'll go take you to Kanpur and there's a cinema hall, I'll show you what is a cinema. And on the way he tells the boy, there's a big screen like this and there is light projected on the screen and there are so many things which happen on the screen. And that is a cinema, a film. And they reach the hall, this movie theater. This is important. When the movie has already started. So dark hall, they go and sit, it started. And they watch this. And there is a battlefield of Mahabharata and war is going on and so many things. And the boy is enthralled. After some time the boy asks the father, Father, you said there is a screen on which everything takes place. Which is the screen? And the father whispers, there it is in front of you. So, oh, that Krishna and Arjuna on the chariot, that is the screen. No, not that. Behind it, the battlefield. That is the screen. No, behind the battlefield. The sky. No, behind the sky. Behind the sky. So I mean it's nothing. No, I mean all of it. Oh, you mean the screen is the battlefield and Krishna and Arjuna and all the arrows and the fight and the battleground and the sky all together is called the screen. No. Behind all of that, you remove all of that. So nothing, screen is nothing. Now how will the father explain? Because whatever he points to is very important and very profound. Whatever he points to, there's a picture. It is the screen, but there's a picture covering the screen. And the tendency of the boy is to mistake the picture for the screen because he does not recognize the screen. What will happen when the movie stops for the interval? The lights come on and the boy sees the screen and he said, oh, okay, this is the screen. I understand now. And then again the movie starts. Now the boy has no confusion. He knows on that screen everything is being projected. It is the background of all the experiences. It enables all the experiences. It gives substance to all the experiences. But it is unaffected by the experiences. There may be a flood in the movie. There may be fire in the movie. The screen does not become wet, nor is it burnt. Nothing happens to the screen. Now that's just a screen, a jada, inert screen. But you are consciousness. You are the screen in which you project the drama of the entire universe, your lives and the entire thing. That is what's happening. And the jnani, when he's in the midst of all this, when he sees this body and mind, when he sees you also, all of this he sees, and the happiness and sadness, all these experiences, in all of this he recognizes the screen. We don't. That's the difference. We don't recognize the screen. That is the difference. He told us once, somebody told him about X-ray. He says X-ray penetrates the skin, the clothes in the skin, and goes to, and it can show you the bones. And this old Swami was so happy. He said, Mahatma ki drishti aisi honi chahiye. He says, a jnani, a person of realization, should have this kind of a vision. Not an X-ray vision like Superman. It's like you understand the reality behind everything. You see what everybody else is seeing, but you have the knowledge of the background reality all the time. Thank you very much. We conclude here. Thank you.